What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Pretty Girl Progression Podcast. I am your girl, Sherelle. If you are new here, welcome. I hope you stay. And if you've been here before, girl, welcome back. And as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Now, y'all, I have an extremely special guest today. I've been waiting to sit down with this young lady for quite some time, actually. Not only is she an entrepreneur, she is the content creator. She literally bridges the gap for entrepreneurs to meet, create, and just build community. I want you guys to give a big round of applause for my good friend, Evelyn. Hey, Ev.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Oh my God. First of all, Ev, thank you for sitting down with me. You have been someone who's literally shared so many gems, and I'm just grateful that you could sit down with me so we can have this conversation with the community. So how are you feeling? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling great. We're finally having a winter type of weather, so the weather is dropping. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, everything is good. It's good to see you doing what you do best, man. Like I remember those
Thank
conversations and
you.
to see you at your element and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. So
Yes.
listen, we're going to jump into some things today. Y'all, so this segment right now we're jumping into is called Miss Entrepreneur. I couldn't think of a better person to have a conversation with than to have it with Evelyn, who has really created nothing out of something. Ev, you're from originally Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about, you as an entrepreneur, how you transitioned from Orlando, what you were doing while you were in Orlando, to here as an entrepreneur, and here as in Miami, Florida.
Right. Ooh, um, it was one of those things that happened by force. You ever
Mm-hmm.
felt like you were called to do something, but you're comfortable in where you at because it feels safe and it feels like security? That was for me. As a second grade teacher, working in a classroom, though I was miserable, but I knew no matter how I arrived, baby, every 2 weeks I was gonna get a paycheck. And
Okay.
so right? So it was just that safety net. But I've always had a passion for event planning, curating events, building community. So on weekends, that was what I was still doing as an event planner, like on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, in 2021, I lost my brother. So this
Mm.
was around the summertime. And so when this new school year was getting ready to kick back in, I remember just kind of sending a text message to the principal that did a phenomenal evaluation on me and gave me a whole new contract to return the following year. I was just all set, just knowing that I was going to be back in my classroom. But I hit her up, letting her know, like, hey, I just got news about my brother, and I also just tested positive for COVID. I'm going through a lot right now. I don't think I'll be able to return back to the classroom because around that time it was going to be teacher planning week because teachers come before the students come. And
Mm-hmm.
her feedback to me at that time was, well, Miss Joachim, I think it would be best if we place somebody else in the classroom. And so I'm like, well, dang, like now I'm unemployed and I'm about to plan a funeral. Like, what you about to do, God? You know? And
Girl.
I had a friend in Miami for the longest that was trying to say, like, hey, I think you should come here. I could see you just doing what you do out here when it comes to community and events. Um, at this point, I'm like, you know what? What's holding me back? I might as well just bet on the idea and bet on myself and take that leap of faith and move to South Florida. And I did. And that's when I connected with Cassandra Moore via our mutual friend and conversation happened. She told me just where she's at as a creative, where she's at as someone that inspires to motivate other creatives. I told her where I was at as an event planner. Now I'm here in Miami, Florida, and let's put our heads together and see what we can cultivate. And from that, birthed what is now called content creators experience. And
Yeah.
it's been history ever since.
First and foremost, I'm so sorry about your brother. Every time I hear that, my heart drops because me having three brothers of my own, it's
Mm-hmm.
one of my worst fears. So that alone, you have to battle with the passing of your brother and it's
Mm-hmm.
COVID and you basically get laid off.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, how did you even maneuver like the passing of your brother and then saying, I'm just going to come to Miami during that period?
It took 6 months. It took 6 months
Okay.
after the funeral for me to make that move. It took some time. Um, and when I kind of had an awakened moment from my dark place of depression, because I was grieving my brother
Mm,
bad. And just the things that was rehearsed in my mind were conversations I remember we were having when he just inspired to be. He just had dreams of becoming X, Y, and Z, and vision of buying a home and wanting to break generational curses, and um also had a mindset of business and entrepreneurship. And so I feel like that's the loss of my brother. I always say the loss of my brother. I felt like it was the death of me, but it really will awaken me to my purpose to say, you know what, I don't want
wow.
to come in contact with nobody else and not strike their God given gifts and talents in them. And so
Yeah.
that's really the energy I brought into content creators experience to say, I believe we all are called to an assignment. It looks different for all of us. And so I'm just like, okay, God, how do I channel this grief into positive energy to like, water, people's seeds, water people's visions, water people's purpose. And that's just kind of how I just been healing through grief.
Yeah. So, the
Hmm.
first time that I went through someone close enough to me passing was my cousin's mom. And Monique, rest in peace to Monique. She was such a light. Everyone loved her. She was such like a fun woman, but serious. And when we went to her funeral, her homegoing, first of all, the church was so packed. It was overflowing with people outside. And everyone had an amazing story about her. And I never had anybody as close to me pass away. So what would you say to somebody who is dealing with grief?
Mm. I would say, hold on, and don't force yourself to get over it, because it's like grief is it will knock at your door when you least expect it. You'll have wave
Yeah.
of emotions when it's the holidays, when it's that person's birthday. Social media have a friendly way of sending you reminders of things, so you're always going to be reminded of that person's absence. um so I would say, give yourself grace and
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to cry and allow yourself to feel what you feel. Because at the end of the day, nobody could really understand it if you haven't like experienced it yourself,
Right.
and navigating through grief. But I would say, embrace every feeling that you feel, mourn that person, and just know that it's a journey. And unfortunately, we don't know if it has an expiration date of like, I'm gonna get to the point that I'm okay that this person is permanently absent in my life. I don't know
Yeah.
anybody on this earth that could arrive to that place. So it takes
Yeah.
time.
I was also going to ask you because recently, I was on the Talkie, the TikTok, and I'm always curious when I saw this perspective of giving your advice when someone is in the thick of whether it be death, hardship. What did you want to hear? Because most people will be like, you're going to be okay. Be strong. God has a plan. Everything is okay. It'll work out. This too shall pass. But what did you want to hear when your brother passed? What did you need from your friend or a parent or a relative? Like, what do you think you needed at that moment?
At that moment, I don't think I needed words. I needed silence. I just needed I needed a shoulder to cry on. I needed someone to be there, but I don't think I needed someone to give me the words. I don't think I needed someone to give me scriptures or give me all the things we learned to say when somebody passed.
Right.
Um Someone I could never forget is my dear friend Elsie. That at the time she was in Miami, and again this happened while I was in Orlando. The moment she heard the news, I mean, took flight and was there the next day. And she didn't have no words. She just got in the bed and cuddled with me. I felt like
Oh,
that was the most memorable moment that I needed, and it will forever leave a mark for me because I'm just like, you know what? You got the saints that would say one thing, you have your friends that could say one thing, you have your
yeah.
coworkers that could say one thing, but it's like sometimes you just need silence to mourn, to cry, to grieve, and you just need somebody to embrace you and just let you know, like, hey, I'm here. You know,
Yeah,
that's what I
absolutely.
needed.
Absolutely. I mean, that video that I saw on TikTok was like really right on time because I was going through something with a family member. And it's like you think of all the words that they tell you to say, but really that's not what the person needed. So I love that you gave those 2 cents of just being present, being there. You know what I mean? Having the friend Elsie just come lay in the bed with you and just, even if it's be silent, like just be there for
Hmm.
me. You know what I mean? I think we all can learn from that. And it's interesting that your brother was the one who was like motivational, business savvy. He was the one to really like, in a sense, he's like your angel because the fact that you came from Orlando to now in that transition, come to Miami and still build content creator experience, like, would you say you got a lot of your entrepreneurship from your brother or did
I
that
would
come from
say,
elsewhere?
yeah, like that risk taker. My brother was always like a risk
Mm,
taker. I felt like
that's you.
he didn't know what fear was,
Mm,
yeah.
wow, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you transitioned from Orlando to now Miami. You connected
Mm-hmm.
with Cassandra Moore, and Cassandra Moore was actually on season 2 uh, of the Pretty Girl Progression podcast. Great episode. We talked a lot about entrepreneurship. And I met you actually through JMac at my first content creator event. And I have this picture on my Instagram that says, do what you love.
Mm-hmm.
And baby, when I tell you that was the seed, that planted a seed in my spirit to start doing hostings and all the things. So let me ask you, like when you started content creator, did you think it was going to be what it is now and people like really know you for this? Like, what was the process you doing content creator with Cassandra and that first event that y'all had?
When we started, listen, baby, we didn't know what we was doing. We didn't have no we didn't have no 1 month plan, no 6 month plan, no quarter plan, no 5 year plan. It was just literally, I remember I was invited to her birthday party via my
Mm-hmm.
mutual friend Elsie. Cassandra's birthday's in January. And we just started a conversation. And next thing you know, February, we having our first event. So literally in a matter of like a couple of weeks, just from vision, idea, and brainstorming to like executing. So it just initially started of like, let's do an event. Let's get creatives in a room. Let's get entrepreneurs, business professionals in a room. Let's recognize those that are out here doing what they do best. Let's spotlight these individuals. So originally the name was Content Creators Party. But then after that first event, we realized like, yo, people really like rock with this. People felt like they got something out of this. People were asking, when's the next event? And when we were curating that first event and we were sending out sponsor letters and trying to get support, we were getting various feedbacks, which is needed and which was helpful. And I remember someone saying, like, hey, The word party kind of throws off what we feel like we're giving our dollars to. So
Mm,
we were just like, hey, content creators experience, so it was just like a safe name to say, okay,
for
we still
sure.
know we want to impact the creative community. We still know we're going to do like mixers and some form of party per se, but how do we make a safe name that way a corporate company could feel like their dollars is well invested into the creative community? So honestly, it just started off with an idea, an event, and it spiraled into a whole community and a movement.
Ain't that a testimony of just start? You might not know where it's gonna go, but just
Facts.
start. It
Just
actually
do it.
reminds me of when I did my beach day event for PGP. I
Hmm.
love throwing these events, and I remember when promoting it, I was doing adult beach day. And after the event was said and done, people were like, I thought it was like some S party, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
If it was some adult film party for the beach. And I'm
Done.
like, no, it just means don't leave your kids at home. We just
Right,
want
right,
21 and over. So
right.
instead, I should have called it like I don't know, a day at the beach.
Mm.
So it would have been more inviting for people. So what you name your parties or events
It's important.
matters.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
definitely matters. So let me ask you this. What's been your biggest challenge in the beginning?
Ooh. Um, I would say the biggest challenge in the beginning, I think for many of us that could relate, is the lack of capital and resources. Like you could have an idea, you could have the vision, but baby, it's like who's about to fund it? It costs. It costs to
For
curate
sure.
events. It costs to build community. It costs to grow a brand. The biggest challenge was realizing like, yo, we didn't count the cost before we pushed gas, but by faith, stuff just was happening and we learning along the way. But that was the biggest challenge,
Yeah.
financial, the
Financials
finance.
financials always the thing. Like did you even set a budget at all? Did you say, okay, I want to do this event, so I know I need to have cups, I need to do a little decor. Did you set a budget?
Of course, we wrote out a budget. We actually went with the venue where she had her birthday party at, which was the Escape Room on South Beach.
Uh
They gave us a price. We was like, okay, bet this a rooftop, this a vibe. The numbers, seemed fair. But then when it came to initially pushing out the ticket sales, let me tell you how God be testing you though. Sometimes, like
Come
he
on.
gonna test you. So what was crazy was as we were pushing, ticket sales wasn't like coming in like that. And so I remember we were just like, let's consider postponing or canceling it.
Mm,
We were both pondering that idea. And so there's a mentor that I go to for a lot of counsel and just prayer and decision making. So me and Cassandra was like, hey, let me talk to my mentor. Cassandra's like, let me talk to mine and let's revisit this idea. By the time we both talked to our mentors, it was like, nah, baby, y'all doing this thing. And
ooh,
so
come on.
I will always give my hats off to Cassandra because very few know. At that time, I was full blown like entrepreneurship by force, like I told y'all. And
Mhm.
at that time, Cassandra was working at Amazon and was in school. Homegirl put her school refund check as an investment to this event.
Ooh.
And we talk an event that took about 6 weeks of from planning to execution and end up being a sold out event. And so it was just one of those things like, God, you showed up and you showed out, and it showed just her willingness to invest, to say, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and pay this deposit the venue is asking for because we had a time, a deadline to meet to pay that deposit. And of course, we had a deadline to meet to pay off the final balance. But it was crazy how God took like, let me see how bad y'all want it. Let me see how
Oh
willing to
yes.
take, a leap of crazy faith to see
Mm.
how you gonna invest before I show y'all what I'm capable of doing. And so it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal how it all played out.
I feel like it's a testament to say like you really have to have people who believe, who have
Mm,
crazy faith. And Cassandra's one
yes.
of those people who have crazy faith. So it's
Mm-hmm.
all about who you're around to and what their belief is. And on top of
Yes.
investing, like if you're not
Yeah.
willing to put the money up,
Mm-hmm.
then what are you really doing?
Right.
Do you
Right.
really want it? Cause girl,
Right.
I've had to drop. Let me tell you something, baby. On this podcast, every little thing you see here, some things I done bartered. I may have got out of the trash. I done, invested hundreds, thousands, of dollars. But it's like,
Right.
how bad do you want it? And I feel like when
Mm-hmm.
you actually cement that, God is gonna do His part always. He always gonna
Mm-hmm.
do His big one.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so we've done a few things, right? And I say I've shown up to a few of your events. You've
Mm-hmm.
done a gala. You have done it's a content creator award show, which we won what did we have? Like we didn't win best podcast when I was with my other podcast crew, but like what was it? What was it called again?
It was the
We got it from Official Glue. The
right.
Official Glue gave us an award, and it was definitely about. And Official Glue was on the podcast season 2 last year as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
But I love that. I loved how you spotlighted so many different content creators. I got to see Cheyenne, the blogger, out of there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who are doing huge things, not just in Miami, but in Orlando, that you're literally giving them their flowers. What has made you so like selfless to show up in this manner?
My brother.
Mm,
I'm like, I'd rather give people they flowers while they alive than trying to give
yeah,
it while they in some casket. you
for
know.
sure.
So that's just the legacy I want to leave behind to say, how God, how can you use me to water, to plant, to foster community, to
Yeah,
awaken other people's vision and assignment? That's really what I bring into my event planning is to say, hey, you might come in this room and connect with a producer. You might come in this room and find a host to help you believe in this event you want to put on.
hello.
It's inspiring to look back, though it has been a huge investment and a big risk, and we've taken a lot of L's. But sometimes it's a blessing to look back to say, like, yo, look at y'all collaborating. Y'all met at this event. Like, look at this
Yes.
popping off, and this is your photographer, and y'all connected here. Like, it's a blessing,
Yeah,
and even when we were curating the Spotlight Awards, and not, certain people were
the
being
spotlight
nominated
or
for different categories, for recognition. And when me and Cassandra had launched a series of just kind of doing many interviews with people, man, it was heartwarming just to kind of hear people's beginnings, humble beginnings, and them betting on
yeah,
themselves. So for me, it's like, even when I had moments where I felt like the weight of planning this award was like bigger than me, it's like when I was posting these contents on the page to highlight these folks' stories, it's like their story was just like my conviction and my reminder of like why this award it matters.
yeah.
So it's been a journey that I have no regrets. I don't.
I give you your flowers, Ev. I gotta give
I
you your
appreciate it.
flowers. You've put so many people in position. They don't even know like the sleepless nights and, the long days and the money out of your pocket and being upside down and all the things. Like, so I give
Mhm.
you your flowers. I know God is gonna continue to bless you tenfold. And
I
baby, when I'm
appreciate it.
up, we up, okay? We on.
Listen, don't forget
Okay?
about me now. Don't forget
I
about me
could
now
never,
when
I
you're on
could
the big
never,
stage.
let me tell you something. You've done so, you've done a lot for me, even down to the
Mhm.
Marriott connection. Like, that's why being Miss Entrepreneur, I have to have this conversation with you because, baby, you even plugged me into the Marriott hotel. You know what
I
I mean? Like,
appreciate it.
that alone was like love, Ev. Love, 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 love. So,
Appreciate it.
thank you for all that you do. If they don't say it enough, let me say it publicly. You deserve it all, baby.
I appreciate it.
Um, I definitely have to talk about because you mentioned mentorship a lot, which everyone
Mhm.
needs a mentor, okay? I remember you mentioning this one particular mentor, and forgive me if the name is wrong. Dana John, is
Oh,
that how I
Dina
say her
John.
name? Dina
Dina John.
John. Would that be
Mm-hmm.
the mentor you're referring to?
I have two mentors. The one
Come
that I
on now.
referred to earlier, it wasn't that one, but Dina John played a huge mark in my life since the age of 15.
So talk about a
Hmm.
little bit about mentorship and all that is done for you thus far.
I would say for me, mentorship was I needed it, because my background doing 11 years in foster care from 7 to 18, not having a stable safety net of what we call a traditional family.
Mm,
So for me, when God allowed certain strangers to come into my life to just kind of stored, some sort of structure, some sort of order, some sort of accountability, I cling to that because I wouldn't even know where I would be if it wasn't for certain mentors that just cross path with me. And Dina John was one of them. At 15, she was just like, "Hey, what you gonna do when you turn 18?" I'm like,
mm.
"Lady, I can't even think about tomorrow." Like you talking about 18. But she was
Ooh.
prepping me for my transition into adulthood because,
Mm.
when you are in foster care, you turn 18, your foster parent is no longer getting paid by the government. So it's just like, hey, what you about to do? And so she was already trying to prepare me for that transition. She was the first one to take me on my first college trip. She was actually one of my brother's foster parents. That's how I even connected with her, because where she lived was walking distance at the time from where I was living. Because me and my brother were in two separate foster homes. So that's how my relationship with Dina John is established. Me going to her house, just wanting to visit my brother instead of waiting on the agency to, arrange visitations. I was like, you know what? I'm in middle school, homeboy walking distance from me. Like, hello, I'm outside. Can I see my brother? So she welcomed me like
Wow.
family. And been in my life since 15 all the way up until college graduation. Up
Wow.
until my brother's funeral, she was there. So yeah, mentors for me is everything.
Man, you can't tell me that God don't set the provisions. You
Mm-hmm.
can't tell me. Like that's insane. So let me ask you, man, to even have a mentor at that time, but can I ask like what ended you up in foster care? Because I can't just slide over that. And made
Yeah.
y'all like have separate foster homes.
Yeah. So when we ended up getting discovered that we were living home alone, it was me, my brother, and my older sister. My mom took off to Haiti. One of my sisters, I have two older sisters. She left with only the oldest one to go to Haiti for her dad's funeral. Some things happened there that caused her to kind of get stuck on the island. And so while she was stuck there, we were just, thugging it out, living home alone, still going to school, and just doing life, as usual. And if anybody know how you're raised in a Caribbean household, the oldest is almost trained and conditioned to almost be a mini adult. So even though my sister was
Right.
like mad young, my brother being 6 at the time, I'm 7, we looked up to her like an adult figure. But one day we came home from school and we were greeted by an officer and a lady, and they just asked us questions. They split us up, and next thing you know, we packing bags and being transported in cars, going to different locations. And that was just when our journey started of being in a system and being in foster care.
My God. So what does that even do to you at that? Like what is your mindset at that age? Because you were still young. Like what's your mindset when now you're getting like split up from the only family that you know?
Hmm. It felt like a nightmare. It felt like a movie. I remember me and my brother did leave in the same car. My older sister was the only one that got transported in a separate vehicle. And I remember they dropped my brother off to one home first, and I cried my behind off, holding
Right.
on to homeboy ankle. I didn't want to let him go. And so that
Mm,
first night, they allow us to stay together at the same home. But then when I woke up, he wasn't there, and that's when the foster parent was like, "Hey, I don't have space. I wasn't able to, accommodate your brother to stay here. But for me, it was a world I didn't even know exists until it became my reality. Because I was just
Wow.
like, all I knew was my family, my siblings. So now being moved into a home of strangers, especially where the first home was a Caucasian person that don't know this 4C hair, don't know my culture, don't know nothing about me, So it's just like I'm now living in a house with strangers, um, having to change schools. It was a lot.
Wow.
It was a lot.
Man, a lot of people go through that and my heart go out to them. Um, my sister, who is a social worker, right? And funny, my sister was on season 1, but she's a social worker and she tells me a lot of different stories about kids in the foster care system. And I want to know, like, what would you change about the foster care system if you could?
Ooh. If they could try to keep sibling groups together, that would be my biggest advocate. Try to keep sibling groups together because it's already damaging that you're snatching someone from the place they know as home, no matter what the condition is. Because I've always said this to this day. I was like, though I was like raised in the projects, the hood of the hood,
Mm-hmm.
I will accept that any day to be with my siblings, not knowing what we're gonna eat, hearing gunshots outside the window versus living with strangers and I'm separated from my siblings.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing, if there's anything I could change in the system, would be like keep sibling groups together,
Yeah.
work harder to try to find relatives that could get the kids out the system. Like, and no flex. Like, and that was the reason why I went to school for social work and I did a few years in social services, but I realized I needed some healing, so I had to come out of it because mentally
Ooh.
it was a lot trying to go back and work in the system and realizing like I haven't unpacked and healed from all of my traumas. So I'm like, how can
Mm.
I better serve in a capacity that's not in the four walls of this agency? So I still
Yeah.
advocate, I still help with events that gives back to youth in foster care.
Mm.
I found my realm in safety place of how I could still be a part and not be like in a mix of reading cases that's, awakening things in me and me
Yes.
feeling some way. And, me realizing when I went back to work with the agency, I'm like, yo, this is a money machine. Like, y'all intentionally not looking for relatives to get these kids out the system. That way, every child in the system is a check,
Mm.
And so
Mm.
that would be my biggest thing. Keeping sibling groups together and, working harder to find relatives that would, accept these kids and get them out the system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of healing, I want to transition into therapy
Mm.
because you talk a lot about the trauma and unresolved issues and just wanting as adults now, like we want to be better. I'm
Mm-hmm.
on my therapy journey right now. I finally found
Love
my
it.
therapist. Praise
Love
the
it.
Lord. Okay. And it's been hard. It's been a hard thing to have a stranger basically listen to you, but then give you back certain things. And I've cried. I've been frustrated. I have homework that I haven't done yet because I'm literally going to have to sit with all the things. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you, like we have the strong Black woman narrative.
I'm knowing.
And
Mm-hmm.
because obviously there's been so many things that we had to go through as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to go through, I don't want like YouTube to censor me, but I've gone through sexual abuse. I've gone through basically a lot of just different things. And
Mm-hmm.
you've gone through a lot of different things. Have you ever seek therapy?
Oh yes,
Okay.
definitely. Um, Therapy was free for me when I was in foster care. Um, and they extended that support up until the age of 22, I want to say it is. A couple of years
Mm,
after you turn 18, there are certain benefits and perks that comes if you aged out the system at the age of 18. And no lie, I tried to run from it because what if anybody's in therapy, it's gonna have you to pull off the band-aid, pull
Yes.
off the mask, revisit some areas you've been running from. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people don't tell you like healing is painful, you know? And
Girl.
so a lot of times it's easy to say, okay, let me shut this door and I'll open it when I'm ready. But
Mm-hmm.
no, I've had to like dive back into therapy. I've had to realize like, yo, for me to be a better version of me for whoever I want to do life with, whoever I want to be a mother to, whoever I'm going to be an employee to, whoever I'm going to be a leader to, it's at the cost of me like going through therapy and getting healed, because you will bleed on folks that don't even deserve it. You know,
Mm.
it would condition you in a way. um the lack of therapy or the lack of having accountability for you to face like yourself in the mirror could really do some damage into relationships that you could, potentially avoid. So I would say
For
like,
sure.
yo, jump in somebody's seat, get a therapist, because it'll be the best investment you'll do for yourself.
And you know what I will say too, on this journey, I realized therapy is like dating. You know,
Mhm.
the first person that you come in contact doesn't mean that they're the one
Yeah.
at all. It's more so like a trial and error, and don't be afraid to try new therapists until
Yeah.
you get it right, until you feel like this person is giving me the tools that I
Mm-hmm.
need. and
Right.
and just don't run from it. Like, I've noticed that now that and I feel like I found my therapist, because she's an older lady. She is 30 years strong in the game. And
Love it.
our elders, they have no filter. She's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not here to just pat you on the back and make you feel good. I'm here for us to do the hard work. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
ready to do that, let's do it. And I just love that. I was like, this is my girl. So, what advice would you give to a woman, especially a Black woman, who's still running from therapy?
Mm. I would say lean in, lean into the pain, lean into what you're trying to run away from, because it will really just allow you to be a better version of yourself. Like,
Yes.
hands down, a better version of yourself.
Yeah. It's really
Mm-hmm.
about doing the personal work when you get down to it. Like, do you want to stay the same, or do you want to be the best version of yourself possible? Like, I always
Facts.
look at life right now as, damn, I just want to be on the other side of the struggle, the other
Mm-hmm.
side of the like everyday hustle and bustle. I want to live what they call the soft life. And a part of the soft life is the healing, the
Mm-hmm.
work, like really
Mm-hmm.
just looking at myself in the mirror when I do the mirror work and say, damn, I love who I am becoming now. You know what
Yes.
I mean? And
Yes.
you what do they say? Like, you can't have pleasure without pain, or pain without
Mm.
pleasure. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a yin and yang. You need it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad. Are you actively doing therapy? Because I know you aged out and they extended it to you. What was your like last therapist like for you?
My last therapy session, but yes, I did continue therapy like in my adulting. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had episodes to where I weaned off of it and I'm like, oh, I need to go back in, like, so I've been on that journey where I'm like, even right now, I'm just like, you know what? I think I need to go ahead and find me, tap in with another therapist, because life
Yes,
come with waves, you know what I mean, and you
it
need
does.
you need a safe space to just process, to
For
hear you
sure.
out. But yeah, so I would say for me, it would never be. uh I don't care what age I'm at. If I feel like life is life and it's some stuff that's kind of coming off the surface that I need to deal with, it's like, okay, let me get in somebody's seat.
For sure.
Because it's helpful.
And I'll end with this. Therapy isn't a 1 year, 2 year. It's really a forever thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a forever thing. If you think about marriage, that's like therapy. It's like a forever thing. So if anybody needs therapy, I use BetterHelp. Uh, it's not a sponsorship. It's not something that I'm looking for. It's literally who I've just been working through, and I really adore BetterHelp. So if you need a resource, that's who I go to. And, let me know what you think about BetterHelp. Um,
I have a question for
yeah.
you though.
Oh, okay.
What would you say? Like, how long have you been in it now?
Oh, I want to say I've been in therapy 2 months now, and that's
Okay.
really what like transition. No, a little bit over, maybe 3 months. Because
Okay.
the first time I really didn't like my girl, because it's like weekly, so I'd say
Mm-hmm.
like 3 months now.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it. And are you feeling like a burden? Like, are you feeling lighter? Like, are you feeling like a change?
baby. So my third therapy session, when I finally found my one, she was like the third session with Miss Diane.
Mm-hmm.
And I cried, girl. I
Mm-hmm.
cried. I didn't think I was going to cry so soon, but she really let me know, because my parents were the first people to really let me down, really disappoint me. They didn't protect me how they needed to protect me. And for years, I was just telling myself, like, oh, my parents are just the vessel to get me here, like anything extra. And what I mean by extra is, you know, giving me the tools that I need to navigate this life. I don't feel like I got that whatsoever from my parents. But she just really was like, it's okay. Like, no, they didn't protect you. That was their job. And I just boohooed and cried. And she just let me know it's a great thing that you have your boundaries and your,
Mm-hmm.
showing up and just holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been beautiful so far. I look
I
forward to
love
more.
it.
What's today? Today is like Friday. I got one on Monday morning with her. So I'd be looking forward
Yes.
to therapy, because
I
she be
love
getting me
it.
together. So yeah.
Love
Oh,
it.
baby. Okay. So therapy just get therapy, y'all. Trust me. Because of what you said,
Yes.
you don't want to bleed on people that you love.
Right.
That's a big thing. Okay, so I want to transition to something that I like to call cultural vibe check. Okay, maybe first of all, when you think of cultural, okay, the vibe, what do you think about when you think of the state of our culture right now, especially the Black community? What do you think about the culture?
I feel like our culture is forever evolving, forever changing. Um, but I love everything about culture.
Yes.
Like, I love everything about culture. I love everything about diversity. So I'm all for just different music, different food, different
Mm-hmm.
scenery. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Um, there's one person that we have in common that we absolutely love and adore. And I feel like this one young lady, and there's millions, there's a lot of different women who are just like killing it and thriving. But
Hmm.
baby, Tabitha Brown,
Come on now.
Miss Tabitha Brown,
Yes, baby.
Miss Tabitha Brown, if you are watching this, you are more
And
than welcome to
listen, we're
come on the
gonna
Pretty
send
Girl
you this
Progression
episode
podcast.
by faith.
Yes. I just love her. To me, she is
Yes.
the culture, and she has taken who she is, her whole authentic being, and she
Hmm.
has literally shifted the culture to say, like, it's okay to do it all because you're doing you so well. You can do it all. She got products in Target. I
Yes.
don't know if it's in Walmart, but she's heavy on the Target, baby.
Yeah.
From like air fryers
Mm.
to cutting cook tools and pots and
Yeah.
pans, and I just love her. What do you love most about Tabitha Brown and all that she's accomplished?
I would say her authenticity. Like, she's
Yeah,
just her when she arrived.
through and
No matter if
through.
she's in a car, the bathroom, taking out her twist for her curls. She's just her. Like,
Yes,
she is just unapologetically just herself, and it's like she has really cultivated just such a message of, like, I would say, of faith, and
absolutely.
that is possible. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If many of you all know her story, like, she was driving Uber,
Yep.
just stopped on a break to, try a sandwich and just gave a review, and her career popped off ever since.
Yeah.
And I love to see that in our Black and brown community. It's just
Yes.
like, yo, you out here, like, she doing everything.
She really
and doing
is.
it so well.
Yes, she is. And I love that you talked about authenticity because
Mm-hmm.
we're in a season, and I feel like this is going to be a forever thing moving forward, that you really have to show up authentic. People ain't trying to
Mm-hmm.
buy the fluff.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear the lies because they could see through that shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they could feel when you're not being real. They could feel when you're holding back. And I just love seeing people show up authentic. I feel you do it all the time. Like you're doing it more and more actually. You're showing up and you're being super vulnerable and super honest online. And I just feel like everybody could learn from Tabitha Brown on
Yes.
just showing up and being you and keeping God first, baby. Because with God,
Yes.
all things are
Yes.
possible. I
Facts.
just love that.
Facts.
I hope for our culture we show up more authentic because we are the culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We are the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love her. So Tabitha, call me baby. So
Right.
let me ask you, Ev, what does PGP mean to you?
Oh, PGP, Pretty Girl Progression. Man, I remember
Hmm.
we were in the living room one time talking about Pretty Girl Progression and
Yeah.
just your God moment of you just felt called to this, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, let me not get sidetracked, but I'm just in awe to see all that you've been doing, like to see that this
Thank you.
name have came to life, this brand, you're curating events, you're doing interviews with women, you're showing up. It's just like, yo, I remember we sat up in this living room and you was just like, I gotta do this, like I gotta
Got
do this.
to.
And now you're doing it. So when I think of the name, I just think of everything you're representing. Like you're arriving and you're evolving and just the oneness to who you are. Like when I think of
Yeah.
Pretty Girl Progression, I'm thinking of somebody just like, I'm that girl and I'm
Okay.
progression.
Yes.
I'm progressing. I'm doing the inner work to progress.
Yes.
Um, and you're doing it out loud. And you're talking about me showing up. I love how when you've showed up in your stories and you're taking out your hair and you telling us, like about your therapy session or you at work and you're talking about goals, like it's seeing that journey of you progressing, and it's like um that's what I think about it. When I think of Pretty Girl Progression, I'm thinking of somebody that know like I'm that girl and you're just gonna see me on my journey of becoming.
Yes. Amen to that. With that, Ev, I just want to thank you for being on this episode because
Of
you have
course.
been a complete gem. How do people reach you? How can people support you? Okay. Give us all that jazz because we're going to put it in the description.
Of course. You guys can reach me via email. It's my first and last name at gmail.com. I ain't gonna try to spell it all out. They say they're gonna put it in the description.
Gotcha.
You can hit me up via DM, whether that's the Content Creators Experience page or my personal page where I blog about everything from life to entrepreneurship
Yes.
to spiritual. You're gonna get a little bit of everything it's Journey with Ev. So you're just gonna get all of me on Journey with Ev. Um, yeah. Connect with me on either platform and by email and how can you support me? I would say if I'm curating anything, pay and show up. If you want to support anything, consider being a sponsor. Um, and a like and a follow go a long way. So
It
even that
does.
too. Everything don't always have to be transactional. I
Amen.
believe in genuine support. And if you're a believer and you could pray, baby, pray for me too. That's how you
Okay.
could support me.
Amen on that part. Y'all,
Yeah.
thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Pretty Girl Progression Podcast. If you want to support Ev, you have all the details. And if you just want to support Pretty Girl Progression, because we do it for our ladies, you can go to www.prettygirlprogression.com. We have merch, we have resources, we have tools on there. And like Ev says, it goes a long way to like, comment, and share. So make sure you're doing that. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
And until next time, Queens, Love yourself. And remember, this is actually on audio. It's on all streaming platforms, okay? So we have Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify. Hit the download, baby. Okay, we're on everything. Audio. Okay. So yeah, so I love you, queens, and just take care of yourself. Bye.
Proud of you, Sherelle. Keep
Thank
doing
you.
it.